All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle a really interesting paradox, something I think we've all felt. It's this. Why is it that the harder we push ourselves to get better, the more we seem to spin our wheels? We're going to look at a totally different way of thinking about growth, one that's not about fighting yourself, but actually, well, getting to know yourself. Seriously, have you ever felt that? You decide you're going to be more disciplined, or you're going to eat healthier, or just be a nicer person. And suddenly it feels like you're in this all-out war with your own mind. It's exhausting, right? Well, turns out you're not crazy for feeling that way. There's a very real reason for that struggle. So let's get into the first big idea here, which is what we can call the trap of forced growth. This is a way of thinking that's, it's everywhere in our culture, in self-help books, in motivational speeches, you name it. I mean, this is the default setting, isn't it? We look at ourselves, we see the parts we don't like, the laziness, the anger, the part that wants to eat the whole pint of ice cream. And our first move is to just crush it, to just use sheer willpower to shove it down and pretend it's not there. But what if that's the exact opposite of what we should be doing? Because this whole brute force method, it doesn't just feel awful. It actually, most of the time, just doesn't work. It's like you're creating this internal pressure cooker. And you know what happens with pressure cookers. Eventually, they have to blow. And there's a perfect story that illustrates this. It's about this one student, a practitioner who was just unbelievably dedicated. I mean, this person was the model student. Everybody looked up to them, admired their perfect practice. They were suppressing every single impulse to become this perfect ideal. But that's not where the story ends. All that intense pressure to be perfect, to be good, it eventually just snapped. As soon as this person left that structured environment, they swung completely to the other side. They became rebellious, totally uncontrollable. All those parts they had tried so hard to push down came roaring back, but this time with a vengeance.
Okay, so if forcing it isn't the way, then what is? Well, the source material offers this really beautiful analogy that completely flips the script on how we think about learning. It asks us to just look at how a child operates.
Just think about it for a second. What's a little kid's natural state? It's pure curiosity. They don't have some 5-year plan for personal development. They just have this deep primal instinct to engage with the world, to run, to touch, to taste, to figure things out by doing. And what's our first instinct as the grown-ups in the room? We try to shut it down. We see that beautiful, chaotic exploration and we think, oh no, that's messy, that's dangerous. So we tell them, sit still, be quiet, don't touch that, don't make a mistake. We build all these guardrails to try and prevent them from ever getting hurt. And this is the absolute core of the lesson. Real, lasting learning doesn't come from a textbook or from avoiding problems. It comes from experiencing them. A kid learns not to touch the hot stove because they feel the heat, not because you told them 100 times. They learn balance because they fall down. This is how we learn to be human, through direct, raw, unfiltered experience. And this whole idea, it's not just for kids. The exact same thing applies to us, to our own so-called flaws. They're not these enemies we have to go to war with. They're actually experiences that are just waiting to teach us something important. So how does this actually play out? Well, the speaker shares this really honest story about himself being a glutton. Instead of white-knuckling it and forcing himself to stop, he just ate what he wanted. And what was the natural result? He got really sick. And through that direct, painful experience, he didn't need a diet book to tell him to eat better. His own body and his own mind learned the lesson completely on their own. The flaw taught the lesson. The whole idea here is to just trust the natural flow of things, the law of cause and effect. If we just allow ourselves to experience our impulses and their consequences, and we actually pay attention to what happens, nature itself has a way of guiding us back to balance. We don't have to be the prison warden of our own minds, we just have to be the student. So if our job isn't to force or control or suppress, then what are we actually supposed to do? What's our role in all this? And the answer is something that sounds incredibly simple, but is actually one of the hardest things we can do. The central practice is this idea of clear awareness. And what that means is just seeing. Simply seeing what's happening inside you and around you, without judging it,
without trying to force it to be different and without immediately jumping in to fix it. It's about noticing that flash of anger or that urge to procrastinate and just watching it, just being aware that it's there.
So really, this all boils down to a choice between two very different paths. You can walk what we might call the puppet's path, where you're just trying to follow rules from a book or a teacher or even from your own ego telling you what you should be. Or you can choose the explorer's path, where you use your own awareness to discover what's true directly from your own life. And this is just such a powerful message. It's a call to find your own inner authority. Because real deep wisdom, it's not something you can borrow from someone else. It has to be discovered. And the only place you can discover it is by looking bravely and honestly at your own experience. So it really all comes down to this one shift. The inner struggle starts to fade away when we stop being the ruthless drill sergeant and start trying to be the compassionate observer. Our one and only job is to just be clearly aware of what's happening, right as it's happening. And the rest, as we've seen, has a funny way of sorting itself out. And that's really the thought I want to leave you with today. What incredible truths might be hiding inside your own flaws? What wisdom is just waiting to bubble up to the surface if you could just lay down the weapons in that inner battle and just look? Thanks for joining me for this one.